You want me to? Good afternoon and welcome to Adbn News at 2, where we bring you latest developments from Nigeria, Africa, and around the world. And I am Cynthia Okosa. Now the details of the news. Federal government is strengthening its preparedness against the Ebola virus disease with a renewed focus on coordinated public communication, despite having no confirmed case in the country. The inaugural meeting of the Communications Subcommittee of the Presidential Task Force on Ebola Virus Disease Preparedness and Emerging Public Health Threats brought together key government agencies, media organizations, and communication stakeholders in Abuja. Our information correspondent, Irima Okbo, reports.
As concerns grow over the Ebola outbreak in parts of East Africa, Nigeria is taking proactive steps to prevent the virus from entering the country. The Communications Subcommittee, chaired by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, is one of the several subcommittees established following the inauguration of the Presidential Task Force on Ebola Virus Disease Preparedness by President Tinubu on June 8. Speaking at Radio House in Abuja, the minister said the government decision to activate its response before recording any case demonstrates its commitment to protecting its citizens through early planning and coordinated action.
Recent developments elsewhere in Africa remind us that infectious diseases know no borders. Our responsibility, therefore, is to remain vigilant while providing accurate information that reassures the public without creating any fear or panic. Communication is one of the most powerful tools in managing public health emergencies.
The minister noted that the Communications Subcommittee brings together strategic stakeholders from across health and communication sector to harmonize public messaging and strengthen risk communication, stressing that effective communication remains a critical pillar in managing public health emergencies, warning that misinformation could undermine public confidence and response efforts.
In Nigeria, however, I wish to reassure all citizens, again, there is no confirmed case of Ebola virus disease. Nonetheless, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, has assessed the risk of importation as high, given regional population movement and international travels. Consequently, surveillance has been strengthened at our points of entry, health facilities have been placed on heightened alert, and preparedness measures are being intensified across the country.
The Communication Subcommittee is expected to develop a coordinated national communication strategy aimed at strengthening public awareness, promotes preventive measures, countering misinformation, and supporting Nigeria's overall Ebola preparedness. From the Federal Capital Territory, Erima Okwo, ADBN News.
As health authorities infectious diseases Akwa Ibom State Ministry of Health says it is on high alert to detect and respond swiftly to any suspected outbreak. ADBN TV's Mfon Akpan visited the ministry's Emergency Operations Center, where emergency calls are received, response teams coordinated, and ambulances dispatched.
On an ordinary day, it appears calm. Phones ring occasionally, officers monitor reports, and emergency teams remain on standby. But behind this quiet routine is a system designed to respond the moment an infectious disease threat is detected. The State Emergency Operations Center serves as the coordination hub for public health emergencies. To understand how Akwa Ibom is preparing against Ebola, we joined the state epidemiologist, Dr. Nchiek Edetime, as she walked us through the state's response strategy.
Capacity building for the healthcare workers, then also some of them, the frontline healthcare workers. Then also at the entry points, like the airports, we have put certain things in place. For example, temperature check. Also, we also have what we call lists from NCDC sent to us for, we call them passengers of interest. So these passengers are coming from, other countries. And now the spotlight is on Uganda and those countries that actually have Ebola. So what we do is that when we get the list and their phone numbers, and for the time they stay in the state, we get their phone numbers, call them, monitor their temperature, and also make sure that they don't go to crowded areas.
Following a strategic review by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, Akwa Ibom State has been prioritized for enhanced Ebola surveillance and additional response support.
Akwa Ibom State has been placed on red alert. It's one of those states that have, international, airports. Also, those states even that have seaports, and also porous borders.
Beyond planning, every emergency call sets a coordinated response in motion. Even after an ambulance leaves the station, the operations center continues to monitor the response until the patient arrives safely at the hospital. We also followed the response team inside one of the emergency ambulances to see how care begins long before a patient reaches the hospital.
So we get a call from the call center that there is an emergency. Because we are set for all emergencies, we've done all the preparedness that is needed. So all we need to is to jump into the ambulance, turn on all the machines, turn on the inverter, get the machine, set up the oxygen depending on the case. For example, if it's a cholera outbreak, we ensure that our flutes are ready.
Health authorities say there is no cause for alarm, but they encourage residents to report any unusual illness promptly. Mfon Akpan, ADBN News.
The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, has raised fresh concern over a surge in Lassa fever cases, with 66 confirmed infections and 7 deaths recorded over a 3-week period. NCDC says the outbreak has spread across 23 states and 111 local government areas, with Ondo, Bauchi, Taraba, Edo, and Benue accounting for the majority of confirmed cases. The agency attributes the high fatality rate to late presentation of patients, poor health-seeking behavior, inadequate environmental sanitation, and low public awareness. The NCDC is urging Nigerians to maintain good hygiene, prevent contact with rodents, seek prompt medical attention for persistent fever, and avoid self-medication as efforts continue to contain the outbreak. Federal government has stepped up efforts to achieve universal digital identity enrollment, describing a comprehensive national identity system as a critical tool for strengthening national security, improving economic planning, and expanding access to government services. At a strategic meeting in Abuja, the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, in collaboration with the National Identity Management Commission, reaffirmed their commitment to ensuring that every Nigerian is captured in the National Identity Database. Our information correspondent, Irima Okbo, reports.
As Nigeria accelerates its digital transformation, the federal government says a credible national identity system is no longer optional, but essential for national development, security, and economic growth. Receiving the management of the National Identity Management Commission in Abuja, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, said, identity data remains the foundation for effective governance, targeted grassroots sensitization, social interventions, financial inclusion, and evidence-based national planning.
The National Orientation Agency is present every local government in this country. Work hand in hand with the National Orientation Agency to take the issue of national identity management to the grassroots, because that's where it is needed most. And Mr. President is quite right when he said you have to go back to the grassroots. But we still have about 100 million Nigerians left. And I'm sure that the 100 million Nigerians are also Nigerians, and they ought to be captured.
Responding, the Director General of the National Identity Management Commission, Engineer Bisola Koka, stated that the newly enacted NIMC Act 2026 enhances data privacy, cybersecurity, and digital identity management, noting that the Commission has initiated a nationwide word-by-word enrollment exercise across all 8,809 political wards to expand identity coverage, combat identity frauds, and support Nigeria's digital economy.
Regarding the card, what the law from 2007 spoke about the card was it called it the General Multipurpose Card, okay, GMPC card, which is just like a basic physical card. But what we're doing is ensuring that we establish it as the EID card, which is basically ID card plus payments. But we have also created alternatives, so you can, you have your physical, your digital ID card on your NINOF. You also have your EID card, which is physical, which can be tied to government interventions. So
the nationwide enrollment drive is expected to strengthen national security, improve access to government services, deepen financial inclusion, and support Nigeria's transitions to a more secure, inclusive, and digitally driven economy. From the Federal Capital Territory, Arima Okbo, Adbn News.
In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has directed the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, to enroll every Nigerian into the National Identity Database before the end of 2026. NIMC Director General Abisoye Koka-Odusate said the Commission is partnering with private enrollment agencies under the World Bank-backed Identification for Development project to speed up nationwide registration. She said the national identification number remains a unique identifier that prevents multiple registrations through biometric verification, adding that the exercise will provide accurate population data to improve governance and service delivery. The directive follows the signing of the NIMC Act 2026, which reinforces the one person, one identity policy and makes the NIN the primary identity credential for assessing key government and private sector services. Federal government has suspended the proposed increase in registration fees for the 2027 WAEC and NECO senior secondary certifications examinations following public backlash. In a statement on Monday, the Federal Ministry of Education said it had withdrawn its June 18, 2026 letter proposing the fee adjustment to allow for wider consultations and a comprehensive review. The proposal sought to raise registration fees from 27,500 to 50,000 naira. and 82% increase, citing rising costs of logistics, security, printing, technology, and other examination services. The ministry said Education Minister Dr. Maruf Tunji Alausa directed that the proposal be put on hold pending consultations with examination bodies, state governments, school owners, parents, labor unions, and other stakeholders. It assured Nigerians that no fee increase would take effect until the consultation process is completed, reaffirming the government's commitment to affordable education and transparent policymaking. And in education, Minister of Education Dr. Tunji Alausa is set to chair discussions on the federal government's education reforms at the 2026 Education Summit in Abuja. According to a statement issued by the chairman of the Education Correspondents Association of Nigeria, Mr. Chuks Ukwatu, the summit scheduled for July 15th will provide a platform for informed policy dialogue and bring together policymakers, education experts, academics, development partners, and other stakeholders to assess the impact of the Tinubu administration's education reforms. Ukwatu said participants would evaluate progress made in the education sector, identify solutions to persistent challenges, and recommend strategies for improving access, quality, and equity across all levels of education. The summit will also feature an award ceremony recognizing outstanding contributions to education with honors for Dr. Tunji Alausa, JAM Registrar. And moving on to aviation, Minister of Education Dr. Tunji Alausa has applauded Junior Achievement Nigeria and ExxonMobil Foundation for boosting STEM innovation in secondary school students across the country through their programs. The minister, who was represented by the Deputy Director, Science and Technology, Mr. Ole Frank, gave the commendation at a STEM Africa Innovative Camp in Abuja. The minister said the event would go a long way to encourage students to embrace science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, adding that medicine would soon be added to the acronym STEM.
We are happy that, ExxonMobil, an oil company in Nigeria, is coming to collaborate, to support the effort of the government. We are very happy, you see, because the government cannot do it alone. Look at the massive commitment, massive resources, that have, since the inception of this program. It's not a thing you can just easily procure.
It's like catching them from the root, from secondary school. Teaching them to be creative, teaching them to be innovative, teaching them to be problem solvers instead of problem creators. What we are doing in collaboration with this is a beautiful thing.
Executive Director of the Foundation, Mr. Hazizi Hassan, as well as the General Manager, Socio-Economics and Community Affairs of the Foundation in Nigeria, Mr. Nigel Kukigam, reiterated their commitment to fostering the interest of young students and stressed the importance of STEM education in driving economic growth and sustainable development in the 21st century.
The idea is to get them to be able to think, like someone said, not out of the box. Imagine there's no box, just think and come up with solutions. And that's the only way that we're going to see things change in our nation, in our continent.
We've been able to work with young people, specifically in the Federal Capital Territory, for the past 3 years across all the local council areas, exposing them to STEM education further beyond what they experience in their everyday classroom by introducing quiz competitions and also some form of innovation camp where they're exposed to design thinking experiences and where we bring in facilitators to spur their creativity, expose them to how they should approach problems or challenges that are present in the environment, such that they are not just consumers or bystanders to what is going on in the world, but they're able to provide solutions to things happening around them.
The Innovation Camp saw 10 schools keenly compete to come out with solutions for lack of water supply, safe refuse disposal, and renewable energy. At the end of the contest, first position went to Department of Mass Education, Kuje, second position, School for the Gifted, Gwagwalada, and third position, Government Day Secondary School, Wuse 2.
The winner of the 2026 Exxon Foundation STEM Africa Innovation Camp is...
Hold on.
From Kuje, Department of Mass Education.
We just prepared down a problem from school, and then when we came in, that was the exact problem they brought out. So we just started preparing our pitch and everything. We didn't even waste time with it, and then we went out there. We were afraid when he said that people that sell electricity is not feasible, but God helped us this far.
It feels like all our effort hasn't been wasted. Even though we didn't win the trip to South Africa, we are getting more experience and more knowledge that we can go and impact on other students when we get back to school.
It was a good learning experience. It was a good competition, the bringing together of innovative minds through design thinking and artificial intelligence to actually foster innovation.
The winners will proceed to South Africa, where they will represent Nigeria against other countries. In aviation, federal government has concluded strategic engagements with 4 leading global aircraft manufacturers as part of efforts to modernize the fleets of indigenous airlines and strengthen Nigeria's aviation industry. The latest engagements took place at Bombardier's Laurent Beaudoin Completion Center in Montreal, Canada, led by the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo. According to the minister, the initiative is designed to connect Nigerian airline operators directly with major aircraft manufacturers to improve access to aircraft acquisition, financing options, and technical partnerships. Keyamo said the program will support fleet renewal, enhance maintenance capabilities, improve safety standards, and boost the competitiveness of indigenous carriers in regional and international markets. The visit concluded the federal government series of engagements with the world's 4 major aircraft manufacturers, Boeing, Airbus, Embraer, and Bombardier. You're watching ADBN News. By 2, we will be right back with more reports. Stay with us. You're welcome from that short break, and this is ADBN News at 2. Now the completion of the news. Kano State Governor Abba Yusuf has announced Deputy Governor Murtala Garo as his running mate for the 2027 governorship election, citing his performance, loyalty, and commitment in office. The announcement was made during a meeting with federal political appointees of President Bola Tinubu in Abuja. Governor Yusuf said he has no regrets over choosing Garo as deputy governor. describing him as a competent and dependable partner in delivering the administration's agenda. The governor also called on party leaders, political appointees, and supporters to remain united and focus ahead of the 2027 general elections as the administration seeks to build on its achievements. In other reports, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has arraigned Nigeria's former Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Uche Nnaji, before the Federal High Court in Abuja on 6 counts, including allegations of certificate forgery and misappropriation of public funds. Nnaji, aged 63, pleaded not guilty to all charges when he appeared before Justice Joyce Abdulmalik. Counts 3 through 6 allegation the forgery of academic credentials and false declarations, while the first 2 counts accuse him of misappropriating funds during his ministerial tenure. The charges stemmed from a petition questioning the authenticity of certificates Mr. Nnaji allegedly submitted during his ministerial nomination and screening process. The case follows months of investigation by the ICPC into claims that the former minister forged academic documents and made false asset declarations. In June, the anti-graft agency obtained a 14-day remand order after Mr. Nnaji repeatedly failed to honor invitations for questioning. He later appealed the court's arrest warrant. Following his plea, the court granted him 20 million naira bail with one surety in like sum. The surety must be a federal civil servant not below grade level 15, with proof of employment and recent salary slips. Dangote Industries Limited has launched a whistleblower initiative offering a 500,000 naira reward for credible information leading to the arrest of individuals involved in illegal haulage using the company's branded trucks. The company said the initiative is aimed at protecting its logistics operations, warning that its trucks are only authorized to transport approved products specific to each subsidiary, including cement, sugar, salt, fertilizer, packaging materials, and petroleum products. Dangote warned that any truck found conveying unauthorized goods would be treated as engaging in illegal haulage, with drivers and owners of the cargo liable to arrest, confiscation of goods, and prosecution. The company urged the public to report suspected violations through its dedicated hotlines, saying law enforcement agencies have been authorized to arrest offenders as part of efforts to protect its operations and combat logistics-related fraud. Troops of Operation Hadinkai have killed an Islamic State West African province cameraman and foiled an attempted terrorist infiltration in Cross-Kawa, Kukawa local government area of Borno State. The military says troops recovered a Sony camcorder containing operational and propaganda footage with preliminary forensic analysis indicating the involvement of 4 senior ISWAP commanders and 3 foreign terrorist facilitators. Several rounds of ammunition, terrorist uniforms, and other combat materials were also recovered. It said the terrorists suffered heavy casualties and retreated after the failed attack, while 2 soldiers sustained gunshot wounds and are receiving treatments. Authorities say the recovered materials will support ongoing intelligence and counter-terrorism operations. Crude oil production quota in June 2026, producing an average of 1.56 million barrels of crude oil per day, alongside 0.18 million barrels of condensates, bringing total daily output to 1.74 million barrels. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission said the crude oil output surpassed OPEC's 1.5 million barrels per day quota by 4%, marking the country's fourth consecutive month of operation growth. The Commission noted that June's crude oil production was Nigeria's highest since April 2020, while peak combined crude and condensate output reached 1.89 million barrels per day, highlighting the country's potential to achieve the 2 million barrels per day target. NUPRC attributed the improved performance to stable operations across producing assets, the absence of major pipeline distributions, and increased efficiency in crude oil evacuation. Nigerian naira traded at 1,382.33 kobo naira to the United States dollar at the official Nigerian foreign exchange market on Monday, July 13, 2026, according to Central Bank of Nigeria market data. The local currency remained relatively stable compared to the previous official rate of 1,379 naira 62 kobo recorded on July 10th. At the parallel market, the dollar exchanged at about 1,410 naira for buying and 1,425 naira for selling, with rates varying across locations and dealers based on demand and supply. Now onto the foreign scene. Now onto the foreign scene. West African Health Organization, WAHO, has marked its 39th anniversary, highlighting nearly 4 decades of efforts to strengthen healthcare systems and regional health cooperation across the ECOWAS region. At a commemorative event in the Gambia, the organization reflected on its achievements in disease control, health financing, maternal and child health, and regional policy coordination, while outlining priorities for the future. Our correspondent reports.
The West African Health Organization, the specialized health institution of ECOWAS, is celebrating 39 years of promoting regional health integration and improving healthcare delivery across West Africa. Established on the 9th of July 1987, WAHO has played a central role in coordinating regional responses to major public health challenges, including malaria, Ebola, Lassa fever, and the COVID-19 pandemic, while supporting member states to strengthen healthcare systems. Speaking during the anniversary commemoration, Director General Dr. Melchior Assisi said the organization remains resilient despite institutional changes with a demanding regional environment.
L'organisation a ainsi poursuivi ses activités dans les domaines du renforcement des systèmes de santé tout en portant un plaidoyer régional fort en faveur de l'allaitement maternel exclusif durant les 6 premiers mois de naissance. De la mobilisation des ressources domestiques durables et sanctuarisées pour le financement de la santé et la diffusion de la politique régionale de la santé communautaire.
The Director General also highlighted what he described as a landmark moment for regional health integration following the 27th Assembly of ECOWAS Ministers of Health held in Freetown, Sierra Leone.
À l'aube de la 104e décennie d'existence, l'Organisation ouest africaine de la santé dispose aujourd'hui de bases solides pour relever les défis de demain. Les enjeux liés à la sécurité sanitaire, aux maladies émergentes, au changement climatique, à la transformation numérique des systèmes de santé à la production pharmaceutique régionale.
The agency says strengthened regional cooperation and solidarity among ECOWAS member states will remain critical to safeguarding the health and well-being of more than 400 million people across West Africa. Ama Marcus, Adbn News.
At least 4 people were killed and 7 others injured in Ukrainian drone attacks on Russia today, with most of the casualties recorded in the Moscow region. Moscow region governor Andrei Vorobov said 3 people were killed and 5 injured after a drone struck the settlement of Pernesky, adding that Russian air defenses intercepted 81 drones over the region. In Russia's Belgorod region, a woman was killed and 2 men injured in separate drone strikes, while another attack sparked a fire at an industrial facility in the Stavropol region. Authorities said there were no casualties from the fire. The attacks came as Ukraine intensified strikes on Russian territory, saying they are retaliation from Moscow's continued bombardment of Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukraine's allies were due to meet in Paris to discuss ways to increase pressure on Russia to end the war. The UK government has announced a £250 million security package to strengthen police protection for Jewish communities following a rise in anti-Semitic attacks across the country. The funding will support the deployment of more than 500 police officers, including 300 in London, increase patrols around synagogues and Jewish schools, and expand the use of plainclothed officers over the next 3 years. Prime Minister Keir Starmer said tackling anti-Semitism remains a top priority, while Metropolitan Police Deputy Commissioner Matt Dukes warned that Jewish communities face growing threats from hate crime, terrorism, and hostile foreign actors. The move follows a series of attacks on Jewish targets, including a stabbing in London's Golders Green district, arson incidents, and a deadly synagogue attack in Manchester last October. Moving into the world of sports, governing body FIFA will assess the possibility of expanding the Men's World Cup to 64 teams following the conclusion of the 2026 tournament. FIFA President Gianni Infantino said the World Cup should serve the entire footballing world, insisting every nation deserves the opportunity to dream of qualifying for the game's biggest tournament. The proposal for a 64-team competition was first raised last year, with Infantino saying the success of the expanded 48-team format has provided FIFA with the opportunity to explore how a larger tournament could be organized. He also pointed to the performances of African nations at the 2026 World Cup, where 9 of the 10 participating teams progressed to the knockout stages, as evidence that expanding the competition has benefited global football. Former Manchester United forward Diego Forlan has been appointed as the new interim head coach of Uruguay national football team, following the country's disappointing World Cup campaign. Uruguay suffered a shock group stage exit under Marcelo Bielsa, drawing with Saudi Arabia and Cape Verde before losing 1-0 to Spain in their final group match. Following Bielsa's resignation, the Uruguayan Football Association announced Forlan's appointment on Sunday. The 46-year-old initial contract runs until March 2027 and will also see him oversee Uruguay's campaign at the 2027 South American Under-20s Championship as he helps develop the country's next generation of talent. Moving into the world of entertainment rather, Nehemiah Danjuma has made history after being called to the Nigerian bar, becoming the first deaf lawyer from northern Nigeria. A graduate of the University of Ilorin and the Nigerian Law School Abuja campus, Danjuma described the achievement as a historic milestone, saying, "First deaf lawyer from northern Nigeria, called to the bar, history made." Beyond his academic success, Danjuma is a disability rights advocate who has served as national president of the National Association of Nigerian Deaf Students and currently leads programs at the Voice of Disability Initiative. He has also represented young people in his achievement. He has drawn widespread praise from colleagues and disability advocates, who says his journey is an inspiration and a significant step forward for inclusion and equal opportunities in Nigeria's legal profession. We now sign out with this on the coverage for national independence on the program that was airing before. Thank you for staying on the news. I am Cynthia Okosa. Keep watching ADBN TV.
Sandra gazed out the window of the dimly lit room onto the dusty street, contemplating her next move. She stared sadly at her two children excitedly getting dressed for school, knowing a truth that they did not. The promise she had made to pay for their graduation ceremony fees when their father said no may not be fulfilled because she had no idea where to get the money from. The little she saved out of the housekeeping allowance she received weekly could never amount to the 10,000 naira graduation fee for the two of them. There is something uniquely difficult about not having your own money and having to entirely depend on someone else for your livelihood as an adult.
There was the time when we have issue like that, when I'm nursing children. When we have that issue, we took the child when I'm nursing in my breast. He will go and give my neighbor. He started provide for giving that my neighbor money to feed the children. So I think Adbn, I'm not doing anything at all in my life. The thing will worse that than the way he's behaved to me. Because there was a time, now as we are like this, last year December, the clothes that he bought to me, he went to, because of the quarrel, he went to he went to withdraw and pick all the clothes, jewelries, everything, and go and touch his girlfriend. That's because of he's the one that bought the clothes.
According to United Nations Women, 1 in 10 women live in extreme poverty. There really isn't a good reason for a man to prefer his wife not to contribute financially in today's economy. In fact, it can be detrimental to the family as a whole. And here is why. With 2 incomes, families have a financial safety net. Unexpected bills or emergencies become less stressful.
Another way I was having is that if I have money be giving him money, he used to be happy with me. Yes, when if anytime I collect money and give him money, he will used to live fine and be happy together. Even once there is still nothing in my hand, or there's no money in his hand, that is how he changed. Even there was a time he used me to collect a loan, so he collect my ATM and transfer it to her account. That night, it was that night he changed character with me. I say, look at now, all this while that you don't have money, we are living in peace. If I grew angry, you will call me and say, come, let's talk. But today now, the money that I have paid to you now, they paid for the loan and enter your account and you have transferred to your account now. Look how you started your character now.
Forced economic dependence does not happen only to illiterate women. Well-educated women, professionals like doctors and even lawyers are sometimes asked to drop their practices to see to the children and the home.
As I give birth to my second son, so armed robbers entered there and took things. So he now said I should hold on anytime he have money, enough money, that he will open. Since then, he has not opened anything.
What does this do to the woman?
Spend most of their time on house chores, reproductive activities, looking for fuel wood, looking for water, looking for food, going to farms, having about 2 or 3 farms. All those things take them sometimes even up to more than 10 hours a day. And that 10 hours means that at the end of the month, she has nothing in their hand. Meanwhile, a man who has been going out to work will have some money.
This economic abuse or financial abuse, forced financial dependence, is an aspect of the economic abuse. Is also a very critical part of domestic abuse, and actually one of the most potent, because it keeps you under the thumb of your abuser. Because if you don't have any financial power of your own, you're not likely to have the power to fight back. So a lot of times you find that women make that hard decision when they think about it. Where will I go to? Who will I run to? How will I provide for myself and for these children? Even when they have family members or friends who support them, it's not enough, because they consider themselves as a burden to that person, and then they think about it. How long will you sustain me? Will you carry me?
Interestingly, not every woman is told before marriage that she would not be allowed to work. For some, this position is thrown at them when already married or having kids. Against their will, they are given an ultimatum.
In situations where they discuss it before marriage, it's easier to handle, because you're able to put different options on the table. Fine, I know that we want to have children, we want to be able to do it, but I need to be able to do something to support and be able to meet up my own little needs. So imagine you're going to ask the man for other things, personal things that you need, and he's saying your mates are working, and we're forgetting that you're the one that asked the woman not to work in the first place. So it's important that you have these conversations before marriage or before you go into any relationship at all.
What is the position of the law on this?
In this VAP Act, is a new aspect of the law, and it's actually helping us to garner some strength, because it's actually coming from FIDA. So it's really helping us. It says a person who causes forced financial dependence or economic abuse of another commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 2 years, or to a fine not exceeding 500,000, or both.
It's also a humanity thing, Women's right is human right.
Besides the family, does society suffer a setback when women do not work?
A gap in income between men and women is depriving countries of 160.2 trillion US dollars. So the issue of exclusion is not only affecting women, it's affecting the whole nations, the whole countries.
What is the relationship between economic dependence and domestic abuse?
most of these women who went to school and never practiced and don't have something they're doing to support the family, the frustration of the man not being able to meet up with the bills of the home, he passes it down on the wife. And when the wife asks maybe for money for upkeep, and they say, oh, you're just sitting down, you're not doing anything, and the thing is, you are the one who asked me to sit down, quarrel, you know. And so you begin to see those little signs. If it is not properly addressed, it can lead to greater issues around domestic violence, might even lead to death of the woman.
Looking at the above information, should any woman be in a situation where they cannot earn an income? With the present economic reality, all hands need to be on deck to combat poverty and beat inflation. Think of the children who have to live without some basic needs because the mother cannot contribute. Think of the women who feel hopeless and helpless because they have to grovel and beg before their smallest needs are met. Think of the economy that suffers when a large number of her population engage in unpaid labor and bring nothing financial to the table. Stop economic abuse. Let every woman who can and who wants to work.